A human was sent to teach survival skills, but the aliens fell in love with him. Part 1. The assignment, Liam Carter had never thought he would leave Earth. He lived a quiet life in a small town in Oregon, worked as a survival instructor, teaching people how to live in the wild. He knew how to build shelters, find clean water, and start fires without matches. He liked the forest better than cities. It was calm there, and he felt at peace. One day, he got a call from the United Nations. They asked him to come to a meeting in Geneva. At first, he thought it was a joke. He was just a ranger. Why would the UN want to talk to him? But they were serious. They sent a plane to pick him up. He flew across the ocean, and when he arrived, he was taken to a big building. Inside, he met a group of people who looked very important. Some of them wore uniforms. Others wore suits. He told them that Earth had been noticed by other planets. There was a group of alien species called the Concord. Concord was thinking about letting humans join them. But before that could happen, humans had to prove they were ready. One of the tests was survival. The Concord wanted to see if humans could handle hard conditions. They had chosen a group of young aliens to learn survival skills, and they wanted a human to teach them. Liam was shocked. He asked, "Why me?" A woman named Dr. Elena Reyes explained, "You have real experience. You've lived in the wild. You've trained people without fancy tools. That's what we need." He didn't know what to say. He thought about it for a few days, then he said yes. They gave him more details. He would travel to a moon called Zaith 6. It was far away. The moon had forests, rivers, and dangerous animals. The aliens who lived there were not used to harsh conditions. They needed to learn how to survive on their own. Liam would be the only human on the mission. He would be sent with a team of aliens who would help him, would teach for 6 weeks, and then return home. He had trained 4 weeks. He had learned how to use alien tools. He had met some of the aliens who would be on the mission. They were strange too. One was tall and had hard skin like a bug. Another was blue and looked like a frog. They spoke in different ways, but he tried to understand them. When the day came to leave, he stood on a launch pad. The sky was dark. A big ship waited for him. It looked like nothing he had ever seen. It was silver and smooth. He walked up the ramp and stepped inside. The inside was even more amazing. Lights glowed softly. The walls looked like they were alive. He sat down in a chair and tried not to be afraid. The ship lifted off. There was no sound at first. Then a deep hum filled the air. He felt a push in his back as they went up. He looked out the window and saw Earth getting smaller. He was going to space. After a few hours, the ship reached orbit. He was weightless. It felt strange. He floated and had to hold on to things to move. The aliens helped him. They laughed when he tried to eat. His food floated away from him. They told him their names. The Threxian was named Rethik. He was tall and had a deep voice. The Kalari was named Nira. She had smooth skin and spoke with a soft voice. They were both young and curious about him. They asked him questions. What was Earth like? How did humans survive? Why did they fight so much? Answered as best as he could. He told them about forests and oceans. He showed them how to tie knots. He talked about fire and how to find food in the wild. They were surprised by how much he knew. They thought humans were weak. But Liam was strong in a different way. He could do things without machines. He could read the land and find his way without maps. They began to like him. After a few days, the ship left Earth's orbit. They traveled through space. Stars filled the sky. Liam looked out the window and felt small. He missed home, but he also felt excited. He had never thought he would leave Earth. Now, he was going to teach aliens how to survive. He wondered what they would think of him. He wondered what would happen when they started to learn. He did not know that they would fall in love with him. The next morning on Zaith 6 started early. The sun rose slowly, casting a golden light over the glowing forest. Liam woke up before the others. He stepped outside the shelter and stretched, taking a deep breath of the damp, earthy air. The storm from the night before had left puddles everywhere. and the ground was soft underfoot. Birds or something like them chirped loudly in the trees. It felt peaceful, almost like home. Liam walked to the stream to check the water. He knelt down and cupped some in his hands, inspecting it closely. The rain had made it clearer, which was good. He decided to teach the group how to fish that day. Fishing wasn't just about catching food. It was also about patience and observation. Two skills he thought the aliens needed to work on. When the others woke up, they gathered around him. Rethik yawned loudly, his mandibles clicking together. Nira looked more alert, her wide eyes scanning the surroundings as if she expected danger. A third trainee, a shy sylphid named Tess, stayed near the back of the group. She rarely spoke, but Liam noticed she paid close attention to everything he said. "Today," Liam began, "we're going to learn how to catch fish. No nets, no fancy tools, just our hands and what we can find here." Rethik frowned. "Our hands? That's inefficient." "It's not about efficiency," Liam replied. "It's about learning to adapt. What happens if you lose your tech? You need to know how to survive without it." Nira tilted her head. "Why would we lose our tech? Things break," Liam said simply. "Or get lost. Or stolen. Nature doesn't care about your plans." Tess finally spoke up, her voice soft and hesitant. "What if we fail?" "You might," Liam admitted. "But failure is part of learning. If you don't try, you'll never improve." Liam showed them how to look for ripples in the water where fish swam. Explained how to move quietly so as not to scare them away. Then he demonstrated how to scoop a fish out of the water with quick, careful movements. It took several attempts, but eventually he caught one, a small, silvery creature with glowing fins. The aliens watched in awe. To them, this seemed almost magical. They'd grown up relying on machines to gather food, so seeing someone do it manually was fascinating. "Your turn," Liam said, stepping back. Rethik went first. He crouched by the water, his sharp eyes scanning the surface. When he saw a ripple, he lunged forward with surprising speed but came up empty-handed. Frustrated, he muttered something in his language. "Too fast," Liam told him. "You've got to be patient. Watch the fish. Wait for the right moment." After a few tries, Rethik managed to catch one. He held it up triumphantly, grinning. Despite himself, "I did it." Nira was next. She moved carefully, her movements smooth and deliberate. It didn't take long for her to succeed. She smiled at Liam, clearly pleased with herself. Tess hesitated. She sat by the water's edge, staring at it intently. Her hands hovered above the surface, trembling slightly. Liam knelt beside her. "You can do it," he encouraged. "Just focus." She nodded and tried again. This time she caught a fish. Her face lit up with joy, and she held it out for everyone to see. "I caught it," she exclaimed. Liam clapped his hands. "Great job, everyone. Now let's clean these fish and cook them." Later that afternoon, they roasted the fish over a fire. The smell filled the air, making their stomachs growl. The aliens were hesitant at first. They weren't used to eating unprocessed food, but Liam assured them it was safe. Once they tasted it, they were hooked. "This is delicious," Nira said, licking her fingers. Rethik nodded. "It's better than I expected." Tess ate quietly, savoring each bite. Glanced at Liam occasionally, as if trying to say something but holding back, as the sun began to set. Liam led the group on a short hike. He wanted to show them how to identify edible plants. Along the way, he pointed out vines that could be used for rope, leaves that could help heal cuts, and berries that were safe to eat. The aliens listened intently, jotting notes into their devices. At one point, Rethik stopped and stared at a large flower. Its petals glowed faintly in the fading light. "Is this useful?" he asked. "Not directly," Liam replied. "But beauty is important too. Survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about finding joy in the little things." Nira smiled at that. "Humans are strange," she said, "but maybe that's why you're interesting." When they returned to camp, the sky was dark. Stars twinkled overhead, and the forest was alive with nighttime sounds. Liam sat by the fire, sharpening a stick with his knife. The others joined him, sitting in a circle. "What happens now?" Tess asked softly. "Now we keep learning," Liam said, "Tomorrow we'll practice building traps. After that, we'll work on navigation. Every skill builds on the last." Rethik leaned forward. "And after 6 weeks, will you leave?" "Yes," Liam replied. "My job is to teach. You. Once you've learned enough, I'll go back to Earth." It was a long silence. None of the aliens seemed happy about that, but "What if we want you to stay?" Nira asked. Liam hesitated. He hadn't thought about that. "I'm just here to help," he said finally. "Whether I stay or go, the important thing is that you remember what you've learned." Nira looked down, her expression thoughtful. Tess hugged her knees to her chest, staring into the fire. Even Rethik seemed quieter than usual. That night, as Liam lay in his sleeping bag, he couldn't stop thinking about their reactions. He had come here to teach survival skills, but it felt like something deeper was happening. These young aliens were starting to see him as more than just a teacher. They were forming connections with him. Even though they came from completely different worlds, he wondered if that was a good thing, or if it would only make leaving harder. For now, all he could do was focus on the mission. Tomorrow was another day, and there was still so much to teach. The 4th day on Z6 began with a challenge. Liam had planned to teach the group how to set traps for small animals. But when he woke up, he noticed something unusual about the forest. The air felt heavier, and the glowing plants that usually lit up the area were dimmer than before. Now, even the sounds of the wildlife seemed quieter, as if the jungle itself was holding its breath. Liam frowned. He had spent enough time in the wild to know when things weren't right. "Stay close today," he told the aliens as they gathered around him. "Something feels off." Rethik crossed his arms. "What do you mean? Is there danger?" "I don't know yet," Liam admitted. "But nature gives signs when trouble is coming. We need to pay attention." Nira looked worried. "Should we cancel the lesson?" "No," Liam said firmly. "We'll keep going, but we'll be careful. Learning to notice these signs is part of survival." They started by building simple snares using vines and sticks. Liam showed them how to tie knots and position the traps so they would catch small prey without harming it too much. Rethik struggled at first, his large hands awkward with the delicate work, but after a few tries, he got the hang of it. Nira proved to be surprisingly skilled, her nimble fingers moving quickly. Tess stayed quiet, focusing hard on every step as they worked. Liam kept an eye on their surroundings. The wind picked up slightly, rustling the leaves above them. A low rumble echoed in the distance, though it wasn't thunder, it sounded deeper. Almost like the ground itself was groaning. "What's that noise?" Tess asked nervously. Liam paused, listening carefully. It could be anything, a storm. Maybe an earthquake. Either way, we should finish setting the traps and head back to camp. Rethik stood up, scanning the horizon. "If it's dangerous, shouldn't we leave now?" "We will soon," Liam replied. "But panicking won't help us. Focus on what we're doing and trust me." The group nodded and continued working. By the time they finished, the rumbling had grown louder. The ground beneath their feet trembled faintly, making them uneasy. Liam led them back toward camp, moving quickly but calmly. When they arrived, they found the shelter still standing, but the fire had gone out. The rain from the previous night had soaked everything, and the damp would have refused to burn. Liam sighed. "Looks like we'll have to rely on our rations for now." Just as he spoke, the ground shook violently. Everyone stumbled, grabbing onto trees or rocks to steady themselves. A loud crack split the air, followed by a deafening roar. In the distance, smoke rose into the sky. "Volcano," Liam said sharply. That eruption wasn't supposed to happen yet. Him, wide-eyed. "What do we do?" Nira asked. "We move," Liam said. Now, he grabbed his pack and slung it over his shoulder. The others followed suit, grabbing whatever supplies they could carry. Liam pointed to a narrow path leading uphill. "Stick to higher ground. Lava flows downhill, so we'll be safer up there." They ran through the forest, dodging falling branches and leaping over roots. The trembling grew worse, and ash began to fall from the sky like gray snow. It stung their eyes, and made breathing difficult. Liam pulled a cloth from his pocket and tied it over his nose and mouth. "Cover your faces," shouted Rethik. Used his forearm to shield his face while Nira wrapped her scarf around her head. Tess clutched her jacket tightly, struggling to keep up. Liam slowed down to stay near her, urging her forward. After what felt like hours, they reached a rocky ridge overlooking the valley. Below, rivers of molten lava snaked through the forest, consuming everything in their path. The heat was intense, even from this distance. "We're safe here for now," Liam said, catching his breath. "But we can't stay long. The air will get worse." Nira sank to the ground, exhausted. "How did you know what to do?" "It's not about knowing exactly what to do," Liam explained. "It's about staying calm and thinking clearly. Panic gets people killed." Rethik looked at him with newfound respect. "You saved us." "I just did my job," Liam replied modestly. But deep down, he felt a flicker of pride. These aliens were starting to see him differently, not just as a teacher, but as someone capable of handling chaos. Tess sat nearby, hugging her knees. Her voice was barely audible. "I thought we were going to die." Liam knelt beside her. "We're alive. Because we worked together. That's the most important thing." "Hot." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. For the first time since meeting her, Liam saw her smile faintly. As the group rested, Liam scanned the horizon. The eruption showed no signs of slowing. They would need to find a new place to set up camp once the worst of it passed. He turned to the others. "We'll wait until the lava stops spreading, then head east. There's a plateau I spotted earlier. It should be safe." The aliens nodded, trusting him completely. Over the past few days, they had learned to rely on his instincts. What surprised Liam most was how much he enjoyed having their trust. He had always been a loner back on Earth, preferring the company of trees and rivers to people. But here, surrounded by these strange yet fascinating beings, he felt a sense of belonging. Hours later, when the eruption finally subsided, they packed up and began the trek to the plateau. The journey was grueling, but Liam kept them motivated. With stories of his adventures on Earth, he told them about climbing mountains, crossing deserts, and surviving blizzards. Each story seemed to inspire them, especially Tess, who listened intently. By the time they reached the plateau, the sun was setting. The view was breathtaking, rolling hills stretched out below, dotted with glowing plants. The air smelled cleaner. Here, free from the ash and smoke of the eruption. "This is beautiful," Nira whispered. "It's safe too," Liam added. "We'll make camp here tonight." As they set up their shelter, Rethik approached Liam. "You've taught us a lot," he said. "It's not just about survival, but about courage." Liam smiled. "Courage isn't about being fearless. About doing what needs to be done, even when you're scared." Rethik nodded. "Thank you." That night, as they sat around a small fire, the group seemed closer than ever. They laughed, shared stories, and even joked about the day's events. For the first time, Liam realized how much he cared about them. Teaching them wasn't just a mission anymore, it was personal, as he drifted off to sleep. Liam wondered what the rest of their time together would bring. He knew one thing for sure: these aliens had changed him, just as he was changing them. The next morning, the group woke up to a calm and quiet plateau. The air was crisp, and the glowing plants around them swayed gently in the breeze. It felt like a fresh start after the chaos of the volcanic eruption. Liam stretched and looked out over the hills, feeling a sense of relief. They were safe for now. As the others gathered around him, Liam decided it was time to teach them something new: navigation. Today, he said, we're going to learn how to find our way without maps or devices. Rethik raised an eyebrow. Without tools? That seems difficult. It is, Liam admitted. But if you lose your tech, you need to know how to get back on track. Survival isn't just about food and shelter, it's also about knowing where you are and where you're going. Nira tilted her head. How do you do that? Liam pointed to the sky. Use the sun, the stars, and landmarks. Nature gives you everything you need if you know how to look. He started by showing them how to use the position of the sun to determine direction. He explained that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, which could help them figure out where they were heading. Then he taught them how to identify key landmarks like tall trees, unusual rock formations, or the shape of the hills. Tess listened quietly, her eyes fixed on Liam as he spoke. She seemed more confident today, less hesitant than before. When Liam asked for volunteers to practice finding directions, she stepped forward. "I'll try," she said softly. Liam smiled. "Good. Start by looking at the sun and telling me, which way is east?" Tess squinted at the sky, then pointed confidently. "That way." "Perfect," Liam said. "Now let's see if you can spot a landmark we can use to guide us." She scanned the horizon and pointed to a jagged cliff in the distance. "That one." "Great choice," Liam replied. "If we ever get lost, we can head toward that cliff to find our way back." The others took turns practicing, and soon they were all getting the hang of it. Rethik even joked about how easy it was, though Liam noticed he still double-checked his answers with Nira. After lunch, Liam led the group on a short hike to test their skills. He gave them simple tasks, like finding their way back to camp using only the sun and landmarks. At first they struggled, but with each attempt, they improved. By the end of the exercise, they were navigating with surprising accuracy. "You're learning fast," Liam said proudly. "This could save your life one day," Nira grinned. "Maybe we'll teach the others when we go home." "Exactly," Liam replied. "Passing on what you've learned is just as important as learning it yourself." As the day wore on, the group grew closer. They laughed and teased each other, their earlier fears fading into the background. Even Tess, who had been so shy at the beginning of the mission, started opening up. She shared stories about her home planet, a watery world covered in oceans, and asked Liam questions about Earth. "What's your favorite place there?" she asked. Liam thought for a moment. "The mountains. They're big and quiet, and you can see for miles from the top. Feels like you're standing on top of the world." "I'd like to see that someday," Tess said wistfully. "Maybe you will," Liam replied. "Who knows? Maybe humans and aliens will visit each other's worlds one day." The idea seemed to excite her, and she smiled brightly. Later that evening, as they sat around the fire, the conversation turned serious. Rethik leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "Liam, why do you care so much about teaching us?" Liam hesitated. Hadn't expected such a direct question. "I guess I want to help. You're all smart and capable, but sometimes the simplest things can make the biggest difference. If I can give you tools to survive, then maybe you'll pass them on to others." "But it's more than that," Nira said. Her voice was soft but certain. "You're not just teaching us, you're showing us how to think differently, how to trust ourselves." Liam looked at her, surprised. He hadn't realized how deeply they had been affected by his lessons. "I'm just doing my job," he said modestly. "No," Tess interrupted. "You're doing more than that. You're inspiring us." Her words hung in the air, filling the silence. Liam didn't know what to say. He had always seen himself as ordinary as simple survival, instructor from a small town. But these aliens saw something else in him, something greater. Rethik broke the silence. "Do humans feel this way about their teachers?" "Sometimes," Liam replied. "But not always. Humans can be complicated. We're complicated too." Nira said, "We have emotions just like you. We feel fear, joy, sadness, and love," Tess added quietly. The word caught Liam off guard. He glanced at her, unsure of what to say. Love wasn't something he had expected to come up during this mission. But looking at the group now, he realized how much they cared. About each other, and, maybe in some small way, about him. "Love is powerful," Liam said finally. "It makes people do amazing things. But it's also messy and unpredictable. Humans have been trying to understand it for thousands of years." Nira smiled. "Maybe that's why it's so interesting." As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled, above, Liam felt a strange warmth in his chest. These aliens weren't just students anymore, they were friends. And while he knew he would eventually leave, a part of him hoped their bond would last beyond the mission, before bed. Liam walked to the edge of the plateau and stared out at the glowing forest below. The moonlight bathed the landscape in silver, making it look almost magical. He thought about Earth and how far away it seemed right now. He missed it, but he also felt grateful for this experience. For the first time in his life, Liam understood what it meant to truly connect with others, not because of shared culture or language, but because of shared experiences and emotions. It was a lesson he never expected to learn, yet one that would stay with him forever. The days on Zaith 6 passed quickly. Liam and the group had settled into a rhythm, learning and growing together. Each day brought new challenges and discoveries, but they faced them as a team. The trust between them deepened, and Liam found himself enjoying their company more than he ever imagined. One morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, Liam decided it was time to teach them about teamwork. Today, he said, we're going to work together to build something bigger, sturdy, shelter that can protect us from storms. Rethik crossed his arms. Why do we need another shelter? The one we have is fine. This isn't just about the shelter, Liam replied. It's about learning how to rely on each other. Survival isn't just an individual effort. A group thing. Nira nodded. I see. We'll need everyone's help. Exactly, Liam said. Let's get started. He gathered materials from the surrounding area along branches, thick vines, and large leaves. Liam showed them how to weave the vines together to make strong ropes, and how to lash the branches into a frame. Rethik used his strength to lift heavy logs, while Nira's precision made the knots tight and secure. Tess worked quietly, but efficiently. Helping where she was needed most as they built, Liam noticed how well they worked together. There were moments of frustration. Rethik accidentally snapped a branch, and Tess struggled to tie a knot, but they pushed through, encouraging each other along the way. By midday, the shelter was taking shape. It was larger than their current one, with walls slanted to deflect wind and rain. Liam stepped back to admire their work. Not bad, he said with a grin. Gosh, you're getting better every day. Nira wiped sweat from her brow. This feels good. Accomplishing something together, does, Tess agreed softly. Her voice carried a hint of pride. After lunch, Liam led them in another exercise, signaling for help. He explained that if they were ever stranded or separated, they needed ways to communicate with rescuers or each other from a distance. You can use fire, mirrors, or even patterns on the ground, he said. The key is making sure your signal stands out. He taught them how to create smoke signals by adding green leaves to a fire. Then he showed them how to arrange rocks in shapes that could be seen from above. The aliens practiced eagerly, experimenting with different methods. Rethik used his sharp vision to spot potential landing zones for rescue ships, while Nira crafted intricate patterns with stones. Tess, meanwhile, discovered a knack for starting fires quickly, using dry moss and sparks from flint. She beamed when Liam praised her skill. You're a natural, he told her. Don't forget that. As the sun began to set, the group gathered around the fire to review the day's lessons. They laughed about their mistakes and celebrated their successes. For a moment, it felt like they weren't teacher and students anymore. They were simply friends sharing a journey, but the mood shifted when Tess spoke up. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. Liam, what happens after you leave? The question hung in the air, heavy and unexpected. Liam looked at her, then at the others. Their faces were serious, their eyes filled with worry. I don't know, he admitted. My job is to teach you what I can. Once the mission is over, I'll go back to Earth. We'll never see you again, Nira asked. Liam hesitated. He hadn't thought much about what would happen after the 6 weeks were up. His focus had been on teaching, not on saying goodbye. But now, faced with their concern, he realized how much they cared and how much he cared about them too. I don't know, he repeated. Maybe someday humans and aliens will visit each other's worlds. Maybe you'll come to Earth or I'll visit yours. But what if we want you to stay longer? Tess pressed. Her voice trembled slightly. What if we miss you? Liam felt a lump in his throat. He wasn't prepared for this kind of emotional connection. These aliens weren't just students. They were people who had grown to care about him. Somewhere along the way, he had grown to care about them too. I'll miss you too, he said finally. But remember, it's not about staying, it's about what you take with you. Everything I've taught you, you'll carry forever. That's how we stay connected. Tess lowered her gaze, tears glistening in her eyes. Nira reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder, offering silent comfort. Rethik stared into the fire, his expression unreadable. Later that night, Liam lay awake under the stars. The others had gone to sleep, but he couldn't quiet his thoughts. He replayed the conversation in his mind, wondering if he had said the right thing. Had he prepared them enough? Would they remember his lessons once he was gone? And then there was the question he couldn't ignore. What did he truly feel for them? They weren't human, but they weren't so different either. They laughed, they cried, they dreamed. They felt emotions just as deeply as any person on Earth. For the first time, Liam allowed himself to consider the possibility that love wasn't limited to species or worlds. It was bigger than that. It was about connection, understanding, and shared experiences. And maybe, just maybe, what he felt for these aliens was a form of love not romantic, but profound all the same. The next morning, Liam woke up determined to make the most of their remaining time together. He led them on a hike to explore a nearby valley, pointing out edible plants and safe water sources. Along the way, they talked and laughed, savoring the simple joys of being alive. When they returned to camp, Nira approached him. "Thank you, Liam," she said, "for everything." He smiled. "You don't have to thank me. You've done all the hard work." "No," she insisted. "You've changed us. You've shown us what it means to be brave, to trust ourselves, and to care for each other. Won't forget that." Her words touched him deeply. He realized that this mission wasn't just about teaching survival skills, it was about building bridges between species, showing that despite their differences, they could connect on a fundamental level. As the day ended, Liam sat by the fire, watching the flames dance. The aliens joined him, sitting close and sharing stories. For a brief moment, it felt like they were family, even though the mission would eventually end. Liam knew one thing for certain: the bonds they had formed would last a lifetime.
The hours following the alien craft's arrival stretched on like an endless tide, each minute heavier than the last. Inside the military facility, the air was thick with tension. Scientists huddled over monitors, their faces illuminated by flickering screens as they analyzed every scrap of data the ship emitted. Military personnel paced back and forth, their boots clicking sharply against the tiled floor. The weight of responsibility hung over everyone, but none felt it more acutely than Dr. Emily Carter. Emily sat at a workstation in the corner of the command center, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she tried to decode the transmission. She had listened to the fragmented message dozens of times now. Earth, Apex Predator, request meeting. Each replay only deepened the mystery. What did the aliens mean by Apex Predator? And why were they so insistent on meeting it? Her mind raced through possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. Captain Daniel Hayes stood nearby, watching her intently. His arms were crossed, and his brow furrowed as he processed the situation. He respected Emily's expertise, but the stakes were too high for him to rely solely on theory. The world was looking to them for answers, and time was running out. Any progress? Hayes asked, breaking the silence. Emily sighed, leaning back in her chair. Not enough, she admitted. Their language is unlike anything I've encountered before. There are patterns, clicks, whistles, pauses, but translating them into coherent meaning is going to take time. Hayes nodded, though his expression remained grim. Time isn't something we have much of. Every second that passes without a response increases the risk of misinterpretation or worse. Emily knew he was right. The longer humanity hesitated, the more likely it became that the aliens would grow impatient. But rushing into a decision could be just as dangerous. Misunderstanding their intentions, or worse, offending them, might provoke conflict. She needed more information, more context. Unfortunately, the aliens weren't exactly forthcoming. As if on cue, another burst of static crackled through the speakers. Everyone in the room froze, turning their attention to the main monitor. The transmission was clearer this time, almost as if the aliens were adjusting their communication methods to match human technology. Words emerged from the noise, broken but intelligible. Clarify, dominance, hierarchy. Emily's heart skipped a beat. Hierarchy, she murmured, scribbling notes onto a notepad. They're asking about power structures. They want to understand how we organize ourselves. Hayes frowned. That doesn't sound good. If they're looking for dominance, they might see us as weak or irrelevant. But they also mentioned clarify, Emily countered. They're asking questions, not making demands. That suggests curiosity, not hostility. Hayes wasn't convinced. Curiosity can turn into aggression pretty quickly if they don't like what they find. The exchange was interrupted by Rachel Morgan, who approached carrying a tablet filled with graphs and charts. I think I found something, she said, her voice tinged with excitement. Look at these energy signatures. They're modulating in sync with the transmission. Emily leaned closer, studying the data. Sure enough, there was a correlation between the ship's energy output and the timing of the clicks and whistles. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniable once pointed out. They're communicating through energy patterns, Emily realized aloud. It's not just verbal, it's multi-layered. Like music combined with light. Rachel nodded. Exactly. And if we can map those patterns, we might be able to send a response using similar signals. The idea sparked hope in the room. For the first time since the aliens' arrival, there seemed to be a way forward. But it wouldn't be easy. Replicating such complex signals required advanced equipment and precise calculations. Even then, there was no guarantee the aliens would understand. While the technical team worked on crafting a reply, Emily turned her focus back to the original question: who or what was Earth's apex predator? The term itself was problematic. Humans often referred to themselves as the dominant species, given their ability to shape the planet and control other life forms. But presenting humanity as the answer carried risks to an outsider. Humans might appear chaotic, destructive, even dangerous. On the other hand, choosing an animal representative felt equally flawed. Lions, sharks, and eagles were powerful predators, but they lacked the capacity for abstract thought or communication. How could they possibly engage with beings capable of interstellar travel? Emily wrestled with these contradictions late into the night. She stared at the whiteboard in her office, covered in scribbled notes and diagrams. Words like intelligence, power, and adaptability circled around the central question: what defines dominance? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Rachel entered, holding 2 cups of coffee. You look like you need this, she said, handing one to Emily. Thanks, Emily replied, taking a sip. The warmth of the drink helped ground her, if only slightly. I can't stop thinking about their question. Apex predator. It's such a loaded term. Rachel pulled up a chair and sat beside her. Maybe that's the point. They're testing us, seeing how we define strength and leadership, or superiority, Emily added. If we claim to be the top of the food chain, we're essentially saying we're better than everything else. Is that the message we want to send? Rachel hesitated. Probably not. But pretending otherwise won't work either. They'll see right through it. Emily nodded, staring into her coffee cup. What if we redefine the concept altogether? Instead of focusing on physical strength, we highlight qualities that make us unique: creativity, cooperation, problem solving. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Do you really think they'd buy that? I don't know, Emily admitted. But it's worth a shot. If we present ourselves as creators rather than conquerors, maybe they'll respect us for it. The conversation shifted gears as Rachel brought up another concern. Even if we figure out what to say, how do we ensure they interpret it correctly? One wrong word or signal and we could end up starting a war. That's where your energy mapping comes in, Emily said. If we can synchronize our response with their communication style, we increase the chances of being understood. Rachel smiled faintly. Let's hope so. Because if this goes sideways, we're all in trouble. By morning, the facility buzzed with activity. Technicians fine-tuned equipment designed to replicate the aliens' energy patterns. Linguists collaborated with engineers to craft a message that balanced clarity with complexity. Meanwhile, military leaders coordinated with world governments, ensuring everyone stayed informed and prepared for any outcome. Emily spent most of the day rehearsing potential responses. She practiced phrasing ideas in ways that emphasized humanity's strengths without coming across as arrogant. At times, she felt like she was walking a tightrope, balancing truth with diplomacy. Every word mattered. Every nuance could tip the scales. As dusk fell, the alien craft remained stationary above Central Park, its presence a constant reminder of the gravity of the situation. News outlets continued to speculate wildly, fueling both fear and fascination. Among the public, protesters gathered outside major cities, some demanding action, others pleading for peace. The world was divided, unsure whether to welcome the visitors or prepare for battle. Back at the facility, Emily stood alone in the observation room, gazing at the glowing ship through the window. Its shifting surface reflected the fading sunlight, creating an eerie dance of colors. Despite the uncertainty, she couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, the chance to meet intelligent life beyond Earth. Now that it was here, the reality was far more complicated and far more fragile than anyone had imagined. Her thoughts were interrupted by Hayes, who entered quietly. "We're ready," he said. "Whenever you are." Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "Let's do it, together." They returned to the command center, where the assembled team awaited instructions. Monitors displayed the final version of the response, a blend of words, symbols, and energy patterns designed to convey humanity's essence. It was a gamble, but it was the best they could do. Under the circumstances, as the countdown began, Emily's heart pounded in her chest. This was at the moment of truth. Whatever happened next would change the course of history. Success meant opening doors to unimaginable possibilities. Failure could lead to disaster. When the signal finally transmitted, the room fell silent. All eyes were fixed on the alien craft, waiting for a reaction. Seconds ticked by, then minutes. Just when it seemed nothing would happen, the ship pulsed with light, sending a ripple through the air. They're responding. Someone whispered. Emily exhaled, relief washing over her. Whatever the aliens' intentions, they were listening. And for now, that was enough.